When my best friend and girlfriend betrayed me, I ruined their lives and made them famous failures. Have you ever gotten that gut feeling? The one that creeps up your spine and whispers something's wrong before your brain can catch up? Yeah, I had that feeling for 6 months straight. Let me rewind. I met Natalie during my freshman year of college. She had that effortless charisma, the kind of laugh that made everyone lean in a little closer, eyes that promised wild adventures and whispered secrets. We started dating after a group project went hilariously sideways, and somehow, amid the chaos, she made failure feel like fun. By senior year, we were inseparable. Everyone thought we were that couple, the ones who had it all figured out. We graduated, moved in together, adopted a dog named Tank, who promptly ate half our couch, and talked about the future like it was a guaranteed thing. And then there was Caleb, my best friend since childhood. The guy who taught me how to ride a bike, who snuck me out to parties, who covered for me when I missed curfew. He was practically family. If there was anyone I trusted completely, it was him. Looking back, maybe that was my first mistake. The first cracks showed up small. Late-night study sessions between Natalie and Caleb, even though neither of them was in school anymore. Inside jokes that didn't include me. Whispered conversations that stopped cold when I entered the room. I told myself it was paranoia. After years together, I was being insecure. Spoiler alert, I wasn't. The night it all came crashing down, I came home early from work, arms loaded with takeout and a stupid grin on my face because Natalie had been dropping hints about a surprise she had planned. Surprise, all right. I opened the door and found them, Natalie and Caleb, wrapped around each other on my couch, the same couch Tank had half destroyed, the same couch we'd picked out together at some overpriced furniture store. They didn't even flinch. Natalie dared to look annoyed. Caleb just shrugged like he'd been caught borrowing a shirt without asking. We need to talk, Natalie said flatly, straightening her clothes like it was just another Tuesday. Talk? I dropped the food. Containers exploded across the floor, splattering kung pao chicken and lo mein like some tragic Jackson Pollock painting. You're unbelievable, I choked out, my chest tight with betrayal. Caleb finally spoke. Look, man. It just happened. Just happened. I laughed, one of those ugly, hollow laughs that hurt your throat. Was it during one of your study sessions or after you borrowed my car to help her move a desk? Natalie rolled her eyes. Don't be dramatic. We've been unhappy for a while. Unhappy? Funny, she seemed pretty happy when she begged me to take a second job so we could build our future faster. Standing there, surrounded by broken takeout and shattered illusions, something inside me snapped. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just smiled. Because they had no idea what was coming next. They thought they had outplayed me. They didn't know I'd been hiding a secret of my own. And oh, it was so much better than anything they could have imagined. I like mine flaming hot revenge served with a side of you never saw it coming. Because here's the thing, Caleb and Natalie never knew. While they were busy falling in love behind my back, I had been quietly building something they never bothered to ask about. See, about 2 years before all this imploded, I got sick of barely scraping by. College degrees looked good on paper but weren't paying the bills like we dreamed they would. So I started freelancing. First small gigs, graphic design, marketing help, social media management. Then bigger contracts. I stayed up late, worked weekends, burned through more coffee than should be legal. It was slow at first. Barely noticeable. But then I found my niche, brand consulting for tech startups. By the time Caleb was helping Natalie move a desk, I was pulling in serious money. I mean serious, multiple 6 figures a year. I never flashed it around. I didn't buy a fancy car or bling myself out. I lived modestly because I wasn't just building wealth. I was building an empire quietly. And now? Now I had the resources to do a whole lot more than cry over spilled kung pao chicken. I spent that first night alone planning. Every ounce of heartbreak and humiliation got channeled into a simple question. How do I make them regret underestimating me? Step 1. Play it cool. I moved out without a word. Packed my things in the middle of the night while they were celebrating their new life together somewhere, probably thinking they dodged a bullet. Left a single note on the fridge. Congrats. You can have each other. Just don't forget karma's a bigger bitch than either of you. Step 2. Set the trap. Natalie had always dreamed of opening a boutique, a trendy little clothing shop downtown where she could curate overpriced sweaters and charge $10 for bottled water. Caleb? He fantasized about running his bar, a divey, authentic place where people could pretend getting drunk on sticky floors was charming. Lucky for me, I had connections. Through a few fake profiles and carefully placed recommendations, I introduced them to a few investors looking for young, ambitious entrepreneurs. They fell for it instantly. Loans were offered. Paperwork signed. Dreams sold. They put every penny they had plus some they didn't into those businesses. All while I watched from the shadows, smiling wider with every desperate Instagram post about following your dreams and hustling for the life you deserve. Step 3. Pull the rug. Both investors backed out at the last second on technicalities buried deep in the contracts. Natalie's boutique lease got canceled. Caleb's liquor license application mysteriously hit endless processing delays. Meanwhile, bills piled up. Debt collectors circled. Friends who once toasted their bold new beginnings stopped answering calls. And me? I quietly bought the building Natalie's dream boutique was supposed to open in. Guess who became her landlord without her knowing? Yeah, it was beautiful. But it still wasn't enough. Because real revenge? Real revenge is watching them fall apart under the weight of their greed without ever realizing who built the trap in the first place. And trust me, I was just getting started. It didn't take long for the real collapse to begin. A few weeks after the investment disasters, Caleb and Natalie started bleeding publicly. First, Natalie's boutique dreams unraveled. She posted a tearful video on Instagram sitting cross-legged on the floor of her half-painted, empty storefront sobbing about unfair landlords and shady investors who ruined her life. She begged her followers for donations to save her dream. Spoiler alert, nobody donated. People love a success story. They're not so keen on hitching themselves to a sinking ship, especially one captained by a cheater exposed in local gossip groups. Meanwhile, Caleb's authentic bar project turned into an authentic financial black hole. Rumors started flying. One night at a local dive, one that actually had a liquor license, I overheard people talking about him. Caleb's a joke, man. Borrowed money from half the town and can't even keep the lights on. Heard he's sleeping in the back of the bar. Guess screwing your best friend's girl doesn't pay the bills. It was delicious. But even as I watched them crash and burn from a distance, part of me wanted more. I didn't just want them broke. I wanted them exposed. So I pushed things a little further. Remember those fake investor profiles I used to set the trap? I used one of them to recommend Caleb and Natalie for a reality TV show looking for young entrepreneurs overcoming adversity. They jumped at it. Told everyone they were about to make it big. Filming started. Interviews, behind-the-scenes footage, day-in-the-life shots. They poured their tragic little hearts out about trust and hard work and being betrayed by fake investors. And that's when I made my final move. Through an anonymous tip, I sent the producers everything: screenshots, receipts, even voice recordings, thanks to Caleb's inability to keep his mouth shut at bars, showing just how they betrayed me, lied about their businesses, manipulated friends, and scammed small investors for startup funds they blew on personal expenses. The show pulled the plug mid-production. Worse? They didn't just cancel quietly. They aired a special episode called When Hustlers Hustle Themselves, featuring Natalie and Caleb's epic downfall, blurring their faces but making it obvious enough that anyone in our town knew exactly who they were. Overnight, whatever scraps of reputation they had left were shredded. Businesses dead. Credit ruined. Friends ghosting. Parents ashamed. And me? I was just getting started polishing the crown they'd handed me. Because when you're the villain in their story, you might as well be the monster they deserve. If you thought Natalie and Caleb's humiliation peaked after their televised flameout, oh buddy, we were just getting warmed up. The thing about public disasters is that they're like blood in the water. Suddenly everyone who ever smiled to your face while secretly hating you sees an opportunity. And Natalie and Caleb had racked up a lot of silent enemies. First, it was the friends who had loaned them money. They started coming forward en masse. Local Facebook groups, Reddit threads, whispered conversations at bars and cafes, the floodgates opened. Stories poured out about Caleb forgetting to repay small loans, Natalie borrowing clothes from boutique owners and losing them, promises made and broken. One woman, a former co-worker of Natalie's, posted screenshots of text messages where Natalie threatened to spread rumors if she didn't mind her business. Another guy exposed Caleb for skimming cash off shared bar tabs, pretending he'd cover it later. The town turned on them like a pack of wolves. Businesses blacklisted them. Mutual friends blocked them. Even Natalie's family, who had once coddled her every bad decision, posted a public statement distancing themselves. Our daughter has made mistakes we cannot condone. And then came the lawsuits. Small claims at first, unpaid debts, breach of verbal contracts. But it snowballed. Fast. Natalie got slapped with a lawsuit for defamation after her Instagram rant named a local business owner as predatory without evidence. Caleb faced fraud allegations from a family friend who had invested in his bar with zero return. Every day another summons. Every day another public record is added to the pile. I kept tabs, sipping coffee and watching the bonfire from a distance. And the best part? They still didn't know it was me who lit the first match. But what made it truly satisfying was the slow-motion emotional collapse. Natalie, once the girl who could spin any narrative, broke first. She posted a now infamous breakdown video, smudged mascara, messy hair, sobbing into the camera about fake friends, betrayals, and how hard it is when everyone turns against you. People are so cruel, she wailed, conveniently forgetting her cruelty when she and Caleb gutted me like a fish. The video went viral for all the wrong reasons. Memes, remixes, reaction videos. Caleb tried to play tough. He posted gym selfies with captions like, "Still grinding while haters hate." But when your credit's wrecked, your bar's shut down, and your landlord's threatening eviction, there are only so many thirst traps you can post before reality punches through the denial. I heard from a mutual friend, one of the few who still talk to me, that Caleb had started drinking heavily, fighting with Natalie daily, blaming her for dragging him down. Funny how loyalty crumbles when the money runs out. Meanwhile, I was thriving. I upgraded apartments, sleek loft, skyline view, a kitchen that didn't double as a hallway. Signed 2 new contracts that pushed my annual income even higher. Started dating again, not to replace what I lost, but to remind myself that not everyone in this world is a parasite. The final nail? Well, that was still coming. Because of the ultimate betrayal? It wasn't just Caleb and Natalie turning on each other. It was what happened when someone else threw them under the bus, and I made sure they had front row seats for that train wreck. You'd think after getting dragged through public humiliation, financial ruin, and social exile, Caleb and Natalie might finally hit rock bottom. But oh no. Turns out when desperate rats are cornered, they don't just gnaw at their cage, they gnaw at each other. After the fallout from the failed businesses and the viral documentary Disgrace, the whispers around town started to change. It wasn't just pity or gossip anymore, it was mockery. Sharp public mockery. Natalie, once the queen bee of influencer posts and curated brunches, was now better known for her mascara-smeared meltdown videos and late-night rants. Meanwhile, Caleb was slipping deeper into his favorite old habits, booze, bad decisions, and worse company. The tension exploded spectacularly one Friday night at Murphy's Tavern, one of the few places still grimy enough to welcome them. Natalie stormed in like a hurricane wearing 6-inch heels, her lipstick smudged, her hair wild, eyes glinting with rage. Across the room, Caleb was cozied up way too close to Brianna, an ex-friend of Natalie's and someone Natalie had once called a social climbing cockroach, behind her back. The second Natalie laid eyes on them, you could feel the atmosphere shift, that electricity before a lightning strike. "You've got to be kidding me!" Natalie shrieked, storming across the sticky floor, drink in hand. Caleb barely blinked, just tossed an arm lazily around Brianna's shoulders as if daring Natalie to make a scene. Challenge accepted. Natalie flung her drink straight into Caleb's face, cheap whiskey and soda exploding in his eyes, soaking his shirt. Brianna screamed, knocking over a table in her scramble to get away. Caleb, dripping and furious, shoved his chair back so violently it slammed into a server carrying a tray of beers, sending glass and foam flying across the room. Chaos erupted. Natalie and Caleb were screaming obscenities at each other, drawing a crowd faster than free shots. Phones came out. Cameras rolled. Then came the grand finale. Natalie ripped off her engagement ring. Yes, they'd gotten engaged in the dumpster fire of their lives, and hurled it at Caleb's face with such force that it left a bloody cut on his cheek. "You're dead to me, you worthless piece of trash," she screeched, voice cracking. Caleb stumbled back, clutching his face as the bouncer, a brick wall of a man named Troy, dragged him toward the exit by the scruff of his collar like a misbehaving dog. Natalie followed, shrieking all the way into the parking lot, where she proceeded to key Caleb's rusted pickup truck with a vengeance that would have impressed Michelangelo. "Cheater," scrawled in jagged letters across the driver's side door. The video of the entire meltdown hit social media within hours. It went viral hard. Not just locally, but regionally. Memes popped up, TikToks reenacted the scene, reaction videos tore them apart. Someone even auto-tuned Natalie's worthless piece of trash shriek into a dance remix that hit 50,000 plays overnight. Meanwhile, Caleb's legal problems spiraled even further. Remember the forged liquor license paperwork? Yeah, the bar owner he tried to scam didn't just press charges, he went nuclear. Full civil lawsuit, fraud charges pending. Caleb's court summons piled up faster than he could dodge them. Natalie tried pivoting to OnlyFans, no shame in the hustle, but the internet never forgets. Every post she made was bombarded with comments dragging up the bar fight, the cheating scandal, the fraud drama. And right when they thought it couldn't possibly get worse? Enter the opportunity I set up. Through a very convincing fake account, I offered Natalie a high-profile modeling gig with an up-and-coming fashion brand, complete with a glam photo shoot invite at a studio downtown. Desperate for any kind of redemption, Natalie jumped at it. She showed up, dressed to kill, makeup caked on, trying to fake confidence, only to find an empty studio with one thing waiting for her. A giant white backdrop with a blood-red message scrawled across it. Some betrayals aren't forgiven. Some mistakes are forever. No photo shoot. No cameras. No lights. Just that. She stood there frozen, the color draining from her face, realizing finally that none of this had been accidental. It was personal. It was orchestrated. And it was unstoppable. She staggered out of the studio in tears, paparazzi, tipped off anonymously, of course, snapping photos as she fled. And me? I sat 2 blocks away in a cafe, sipping an espresso, watching the chaos unfold on my phone in real time. Because some revenge isn't just about breaking someone. It's about making sure they can never rebuild. Natalie disappeared from public life almost overnight. Her Instagram, once a flood of selfies, influencer deals, and motivational quotes, went dark. The only traces left were cruel memes, savage TikToks, and relentless gossip threads dissecting her fall from grace. Caleb, on the other hand, tried to ride the wave of infamy like a clueless surfer paddling straight into a tsunami. He started posting motivational videos, turn your pain into power, betrayal builds character, stuff so laughably tone-deaf that even his remaining followers torched him in the comments. One video in particular blew up for all the wrong reasons. Caleb, clearly drunk, standing shirtless in a dark living room littered with unpaid bills, ranting about haters and fake friends before tripping over an empty beer case and knocking over his camera. The internet feasted on it. Another remix. Another wave of mockery. At this point, even people who didn't know the full backstory recognized them as walking disasters. But here's the thing about hitting rock bottom, some people keep digging. I heard from mutual acquaintances, the ones who still whispered updates like war correspondents, that Natalie and Caleb had turned on each other completely. Natalie accused Caleb of ruining her future. Caleb blamed Natalie for dragging him into this mess. They fought publicly, loudly, and often. One particularly juicy nugget? Natalie's last desperate attempt to claw back her image involved selling her side of the story to a tabloid for a few $1,000s. The problem was she didn't stick to just trashing Caleb. She threw everyone under the bus. She sold out friends, exes, family members, anyone she could frame as a villain in her poor me narrative. The article hit the stands like a neutron bomb. Suddenly, even the handful of people who'd quietly sympathized with her turned venomous. Brianna, the other woman Caleb had cozied up to, posted a scathing response on social media, exposing even more dirty secrets: Natalie's compulsive lying, her secret DMs to married men, the shady things she did to cover up debts. Screenshots are attached, of course. Within hours, Natalie's name trended for all the wrong reasons. Even her old employers publicly denounced her. A boutique she'd once interned at released a statement clarifying they had no current or future association with her. Meanwhile, Caleb wasn't faring any better. With fraud charges stacking up and no way to pay for a real lawyer, he tried representing himself in court. Spoiler alert, it went about as well as you'd expect. Footage leaked of him arguing with the judge, getting fined for contempt of court, and eventually storming out of the hearing like a toddler denied candy. The judge issued a warrant for his arrest within 24 hours. Natalie, faced with mounting debt and no allies left, filed for bankruptcy. But not before one last betrayal. In a desperate move, she tried to sell Caleb out, offering to testify against him in exchange for reduced fines and immunity on some of her shady dealings. The prosecutors agreed. Natalie's statement, leaked, naturally painted Caleb not just as a fraudster but as the mastermind behind multiple scams they had planned together. Was it true? Maybe half. Maybe none. Did it matter? Not really. Because now Caleb was facing real prison time. And Natalie? Well, she had just officially burned the last bridge she'd ever stand on. Watching them cannibalize each other wasn't just satisfying. It was poetic. But the final blow, the one they'd never see coming, was still loading. And oh, it was going to be beautiful. Freedom tastes different when you've earned it the hard way. After months of watching Natalie and Caleb burn every bridge, ruin every opportunity, and annihilate what little dignity they had left, you'd think I'd be satisfied. But true closure? That needed one last move. The revenge wasn't about being petty anymore. It wasn't about proving anything to them. It was about putting a final, undeniable period at the end of the story they tried to write for me. And I had just the plan. You see, months earlier, before the whole house of cards collapsed, Natalie and Caleb had one desperate dream left: to salvage some shred of their image by hosting a comeback event. A charity gala. Yeah. The same two people who conned half the town thought slapping their names on a good cause would make everyone forget what they'd done. Tickets were expensive, $2.50 each. Local businesses were hesitant but intrigued. Desperate people often are. I couldn't have scripted it better. Through another shell company, one of the many little ghost entities I set up for situations exactly like this, I anonymously offered to sponsor the event. A big donation. A hero backer. The golden ticket. Natalie and Caleb practically groveled, hyping the event all over social media, promising a night of redemption and new beginnings. I sat back, waited, watched. The night of the gala, the hall looked gorgeous, fairy lights strung up, tables adorned with flowers, the whole thing dripping with desperation masked as hope. They waited at the entrance, posing for photos, fake smiles stretched painfully wide, decked out in rented designer clothes they couldn't afford. And then nothing. No guests. No press. No cameras. Just an empty hall. Turns out all those confirmed RSVPs came from emails I controlled. All those media outlets covering the event? Fake leads I planted. They stood there alone for 2 excruciating hours. Natalie's mask cracked first. She started pacing, muttering about ungrateful people and haters. Caleb just sank into a chair, staring blankly ahead, the weight of reality finally settling in. And right as they realized the truth, that no one was coming, that they were truly, completely alone, a delivery arrived. A single envelope. Inside? A printed screenshot of Natalie's first "We're so happy together" post with Caleb, and across it in bold red letters. "This is where your real story began. Hope it was worth it." No signature. They didn't need one. Their story ended exactly where it started, in betrayal, greed, and arrogance. I left town soon after. New city. New career moves. New life. Tank the dog still with me, the only one who never needed to apologize. Sometimes, late at night, I think back to that broken kid standing in the wreckage of spilled takeout, staring at the two people he trusted most. And I smile. Because surviving isn't the victory. Thriving after they tried to destroy you? That's the real revenge. If someone betrayed you like this, would you walk away, or would you burn everything they touched to the ground first? Hope you enjoyed this story as much as I do. Help this small channel grow by hitting that like button, subscribing, and sharing with your friends. Every bit of support means the world. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.